All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful mental model for looking at any kind of venture, whether it's a tiny startup or, an entire national economy. It's called the Innovation Catalyst, or the AID framework for short. Think of it as a compass for when you're lost in the fog of uncertainty.
It all really starts with this one question, right? The one that probably keeps every innovator, every entrepreneur up at night. Why on earth do so many brilliant, well-funded ideas just fail? I mean, the history of business is just a graveyard of perfect products that nobody wanted and world-changing ideas that were just executed terribly.
And here's the thing. The problem isn't that we don't have strategies. It's that there's a fatal flaw in how we think about strategy. We have all these tools to map out the business landscape, but they so often fail to warn us about the one cliff that's right in front of us.
We've all seen these before, right? The business model canvas, SWOT analysis, Porter's 5 forces. And don't get me wrong, they're super valuable for getting the lay of the land. But they all share one critical weakness.
And this is the absolute key. These frameworks, they're fantastic at description, but they're not so great at diagnosis. They'll give you this long laundry list of potential weaknesses, but they won't point a giant flashing arrow at the one existential threat that can bring the entire thing crashing down.
This quote just nails the philosophy here. A business venture isn't some kind of scorecard where your strengths can just cancel out your weaknesses. No, it's a chain. And we all know what they say about chains. They're only as strong as their weakest link.
So this brings us to the absolute core concept that makes the AID framework so different. It's called the multiplicative imperative. And this is where we have to shift our thinking from, wishful thinking to some pretty harsh reality. Okay, now this slide is so interesting because it just perfectly exposes this dangerous mental trap we all fall into. We naturally think additively. So a 10 out of 10 idea plus a 9 out of 10 market, even with zero execution, our brain says, hey, that's worth 19, that's something. But reality is multiplicative. A brilliant idea times a massive market times zero ability to actually build it equals 0. The whole thing is worthless.
And that harsh reality is captured in this incredibly simple but totally unforgiving formula. The total value of a venture, let's call it Y, is the product of 3 pillars: A for idea, I for execution, and D for demand. This leads us to the most critical takeaway of the whole model, the zero factor. If any one of these 3 pillars, idea, execution, or demand, is a 0, or even just close to it, the total value becomes 0. It's the model's way of almost forcing you, to hunt for that single point of failure.
Okay, so let's actually break down those 3 pillars. What do A, I, and D really stand for when we get into the details?
So first up is A for idea. This is all about the quality of the concept itself. How new is it? Is it really solving a painful, urgent problem for someone? Can you defend it? You can think of this as the architect of the whole thing. Next is I for execution. This is the engine room. This is where the rubber meets the road. Do you have the right team, the technology, the partners, the operational chops to turn that beautiful idea into something real? Because, an unbuilt product has exactly 0 value.
And finally, we have D for demand. This is the ultimate verdict, the judgment from the market. Is there a big, growing group of people out there who desperately need what you're making? And more importantly, are they actually willing to pay for it? A flawlessly executed product that nobody wants is, well, it's just an expensive art project.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Let's put this framework into action. We're going to look at a pretty fascinating macroeconomic case study that was in the source material.
So here, the model is being used to diagnose Nigeria's entire creative economy. And as you can see, the idea is strong, a 7.8. I mean, you've got the global power of Nollywood and Afrobeats. Demand is also really high, 7.3. The world is hungry for this content. But the weak link just jumps right off the page, doesn't it? Look at execution, way down at a 5.8. This tells us the talent is absolutely there, but the system to support it, the infrastructure, the financing, the logistics, that's the critical bottleneck. So then we apply that multiplicative rule. We take that 7.8 for idea, multiply it by that weak 5.8 for execution, and then multiply that by the strong 7.3 for demand. And what do we get? A final score of 330.7 out of a possible 1,000. So what does that number actually mean?
Well, in the AID model, this score puts the whole sector firmly in what they call the viable tier. It's got a really strong foundation, it's rich with potential, but it is clearly being held back by something.
And this is the real power of the framework.
It's not about the score itself, it's about the diagnosis it gives you. The single weakest link, the binding constraint on the entire sector's growth, is execution. So instead of, spreading resources thin trying to fix everything at once, the model tells policymakers exactly where to focus their investment to get the biggest bang for their buck.
So how can you actually use this? The framework is way more than just a tool for diagnosis. It's meant to be a catalyst for your own innovation.
You see, the score itself isn't really the final product here. Its real power is in what it reveals. First, your primary bottleneck, that single lowest score that you absolutely must fix if you want to grow. And second, your blind spots, those areas where you think you're strong, but maybe your assumptions are built on sand.
Ultimately, the model is designed to be exactly that, a compass in the fog. I mean, in a world that's just full of complexity and uncertainty, it's designed to cut through all that noise and show you not just where you are, but what the clearest and most direct path forward actually is.
So I'll leave you with this question. It's really easy to list your strengths, right? To feel good about your potential. But the most important question you can possibly ask is this: what's your weakest link? What's the one thing that, if it fails, brings the whole chain down with it? What's your zero factor?